In Minecraft, you're unlikely to face anything more dangerous than some rain or a mild thunderstorm. But what if that's not all? The clouds begin to darken, strong wind starts ripping leaves off the trees. A few minutes later, you notice the clouds twisting into a massive cyclone, which eventually turns into a deadly tornado. The strongest ones can bring devastating floods, or on the contrary, massive wildfires. Every one of these disasters affect the temperature around the world, and trust me, finding a place with a perfect climate is far from easy. On top of all that, we have a completely overhauled biome generation system, thirst mechanics, and even seasons. The goal for these 100 days is simple: build a base capable of surviving all of these natural disasters. But honestly, for the first time in a very long while, I'm not sure if we'll be able to do it. Well, here we are. We spawned in some kind of plain up in the mountains. There is also some massive tree over there. And we have 3 minutes of temperature immunity, so right now we need to find some kind of shelter before heat starts cooking us alive. Alright, stick, rock, yeah. The first thing I wanted to check out was that enormous tree. Man, this thing is absolutely gigantic. Do you know what else is gigantic? There's also a sheep here, by the way. We actually need wool really bad, for armor insulation, beds and all that. So let's grab some wood first. I made the crafting table and used it to make my very first weapon. Sheep, come here. Yeah, today's just not your day. And let's make a pickaxe right away. We're definitely gonna need one. Alright, what exactly do we need to do? Okay, we need to find a proper biome where we won't die from the heat and build a protected base. The problem right now is that this plane is the only place where we're not overheating, so wandering too far probably isn't the brightest idea. I chopped down some more wood and noticed some cliffs not too far away. I decided to mine my first stone there. Using it, I crafted an axe and upgraded my pickaxe. You know guys, I'm really not liking those clouds. Oh man, I think it's time for us to get out of here. I started mining coal and accidentally dug into a small sulfur cave. Holy cows, that's one heck of a blizzard. We probably shouldn't go out there. Let's dig deeper instead. Oh, iron! For now, this little cave will be our home. At least until this weather finally decides to chill out. I think it's clearing up a little, and we actually can see northern lights. Well, kinda. The clouds are doing their best to ruin the view. Oh no! Creeper! 1, 2... Nice, that was dangerous. Yeah, the storm is still going. I don't think we should go outside yet. Since we were stuck anyway, I crafted a furnace and smelted the iron we just mined. And while it was cooking, I kept gathering coal. Using the iron, I upgraded my pickaxe and crafted a flint and steel. It'll come in handy during extreme cold. I carved out a small area for our first shelter and crafted a wooden shield. By the morning of day 2, the storm was still raging, but I think it's actually a good thing. Considering every biome around us feels like somebody left the oven open, the rain is the only reason we're still medium rare instead of well done. I returned to the giant trees and decided to walk around the clearing. Some patches of the ground were completely bare, and it looked like whatever happened during the night was far more powerful than a regular storm. I decided not to go too far, cooked the mutton I got earlier, and even found myself a little blue friend. While it's still raining and not too hot, we need to start traveling. In this mod pack, the temperature settings are extremely harsh, so we should probably settle somewhere between cold and hot biome so we can warm up or cool down whenever we need. Not too far away, out in the ocean, I spotted some kind of structure on a small island, so I decided to head toward it. By nightfall, I finally reached the island, but as it turns out, there wasn't much here besides some trees. On top of that, my thirst was getting dangerously low, so I gathered some sand nearby, smelted it into glass, and crafted 3 bottles. Finally, for the first time, we have water. Well, water. It's about as safe to drink as mystery soup from a gas station. So to make it somewhat safe, I decided to boil it in the same furnace. And just like that, we finally have drinkable water, and now our health can start regenerating again. On the morning of day 3, I explored the entire island, but after finding nothing, I decided to continue my journey by sea. The problem was that the temperature here was extremely high, and I simply couldn't travel normally anymore. The only thing that saved me was the colder waters closer to the shore, and maybe the new storm helped too. Those clouds definitely don't look friendly. For now, I decided not to rush. I waited until nightfall when the ground had cooled down a little, and only then continued my journey. The problem was that even at night the surface didn't cool off very much, so I constantly had to get out of the boat and cool myself in the water. Until eventually I spotted glaciers in the distance. This might be our salvation from the heat. By the way, that's the ship with the idiots. We'll rob them later, but for now I think we'll settle somewhere near this biome. Wow, just look at these enormous trees. After reaching the shore of the cold biome, I decided to scout the area first instead of heading deeper into the forest. Hold on. Oh no. Goodbye buddy. Bye. Alright, he finally can't reach me here, right? The dawn of day 4. Today my plan is to start building a base, or at least some kind of temporary camp. I moved a little deeper into the forest. The temperature here is much lower, so to keep myself warm I crafted a campfire. Added some firewood and lit it. Perfect. This campfire should keep us warm now. I think we'll spend some time gathering wood and slowly start outlining our future shelter. I don't know if the cold is really better than the heat, but hopefully we'll manage somehow. I chopped down some trees, and it turns out there is wooden armor in this mod pack. It's not very durable, but for early game it'll be more than enough. But then a new problem appeared. A storm was approaching. The temperature dropped even further, and now a regular campfire wasn't enough anymore. Please, we need a shovel. We need to dig in, and fast. It's not helping. We just need to keep digging down. Alright, I've made it pretty deep now. I've got a campfire down here, so it's not too cold. I've still got some water too, at least enough to recover a little health. Meanwhile, the storm outside kept raging, and with every passing minute, more and more snow piled up. I don't know how safe it is to get out right now, but I guess we should slowly start digging our way back up. By the time dawn was approaching, the storm had finally died down. I climbed back outside and immediately ran toward the warmer biome because staying in that freezing cold was becoming impossible. Before long I reached the coast, and honestly, the temperature felt much better here. I started exploring the area and noticed something really strange. If I moved just a little too far in one direction, I would literally start dying from the heat. But if I went slightly the other way, I'd immediately start freezing. And as it turned out, there was a perfect zone right between the two biomes where the temperature stayed relatively stable. At that moment, I realized this is where we're gonna build our future base. It was already getting late, but I didn't want to skip the night. Instead, I decided to start marking out the area for our future house. I specifically placed the blocks wherever the temperature felt the most comfortable, so we wouldn't have to deal with either freezing or overheating later. In the end, the area wasn't particularly big, but it'll definitely be enough for our future home. Now, the biggest problem is wood. We're gonna need an insane amount of it, because I want this house to be large and as safe as possible. I decided to mainly focus on oak, so I immediately started chopping it down. I cleared out some nearby space, placed a campfire so I could quickly warm up whenever needed, and with the resources I gathered, I slowly started building the outline of our future home. Man, axes break ridiculously fast. I worked on the foundation almost until sunrise, and just as the daylight started to appear, I spotted a massive storm front in the distance. It was a squall line, and it was slowly moving toward us. Only a few minutes later, a rain started falling, and almost immediately after that, a heavy blizzard began. And since our base sits right between a cold and warm biome, the weather here is completely insane. Realizing things could go very badly, I immediately started digging into the mountain. After all, this is where our base will eventually be anyway. While the storm raged outside, I slowly carved out the space for the first floor. Before long, a thick fog rolled in, and the wind became so strong that it was literally pushing me around. Thankfully, by then, I already had a small shelter inside the cliff, where I could at least wait out the weather. Because of the storm, the temperature dropped dramatically, and after a while, I even started freezing. My first idea was to place a campfire outside, but the rain put it out immediately. So I placed another one on the roof, and only thanks to that was I finally be able to warm up properly. I think it's time to place our first chest. My inventory is starting to look like my junk drawer at home. By nighttime, the storm had finally started to come down. Thunder still echoed somewhere in the distance, but at least I could peacefully continue building. I immediately got to work on the first floor ceiling. It'll be made out of cobblestone. And honestly, this is the only place where the game isn't actively trying to murder me. I kept working on the base all the way until morning. I completely cleared out the inside, finished the outline of the first floor, and removed all the snow that had accumulated after the recent storm. Day 6. First thing in the morning, I decided to deal with water. I placed a small water source right inside the house, filled up some bottles, and put them in the furnace to boil. We need some way to restore our health, because right now we've got huge problems, not just with temperature, but with food too. For the walls, I decided to use cobblestone. At the moment, it's the strongest material we have. I crafted a bunch of torches, fully lit up the first floor, and made this little entrance leading outside. And of course, a door. Since it was daytime, I continued gathering wood. We're gonna need a lot of it, especially for the second floor of our future house. Holy crap, what was that? What the heck was that? No way, was that a meteor? And yeah, apparently this mod pack has more than just storms and tornadoes. Meteorites can fall too. They contain some pretty valuable minerals, but those things can also easily wipe out half your base or start a massive wildfire, so that's definitely something we need to keep in mind. Can you imagine if one of those things lands on our roof? Insurance definitely isn't covering that one. That same night, I decided to work a little on the exterior of our base and built a small pathway leading toward the forest, and honestly, it turned out pretty nice. Let's work on the first floor now. For the flooring, I used maple planks mixed with oak and spruce. And I wasn't doing it just for looks. I placed maple planks in the warmer areas and oak in the colder ones. That way, we'll always know where we can cool down or warm up more effectively. As for torches, sooner or later they're gonna burn out, and to avoid sitting in complete darkness afterward, I decided to look for something more reliable. While checking recipes, I found an oil canister for lamp oil. Using the animal fat we'd collected earlier, we can actually fuel proper lanterns. The recipe wasn't too complicated. I crafted the lantern itself, placed it right in the center of the house, filled it with oil, and lit it with a flint and steel. Honestly, this place is starting to look expensive. Meanwhile, daytime had arrived outside. I finally decided to organize our resources properly. I made one chest specifically for wood, and another one for regular building blocks. Oh, no! What the hell's that? Please, no, 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 no! What the heck even is that? It's throwing some kind of grandpa dust at us. Alright, looks like that thing's gone now. I'm just gonna pretend it never happened. I calmed down a little, but I still wasn't willing to go outside just yet. What possibly can happen? I decided to walk around the base and almost immediately noticed a huge tree with no leaves. Looks like the recent storm hit this area too. I figured we might as well farm some wood from it. Every now and then I'd have to head back down to warm up. And that went on until nighttime, when my axe finally broke. Part of the tree had finally started decaying too, so I doubt we'll be coming back here again. By the way, all our furnaces are gonna be in the same corner. I think that'll be much more convenient. I really don't want to waste coal right now. I guess wood works as fuel too. Our food problem still hadn't gone away, but that night I finally got lucky. I killed a spider and got 2 strings from it. Which means we can finally craft a fishing rod. Oh boy. What the heck is going on over there? I really hope that thing isn't heading toward us. Some massive rotation started forming in the distance, and the sky kept getting darker and darker. After almost an entire day, I finally managed to catch some fish. That huge rotation seemed to have dissipated, but the sky still looked weird and hazy. Honestly, it was kinda unsettling. We can fillet these fish and actually cook them properly now. Gordon Ramsay would still be disappointed, but at least it's edible. And literally seconds after I stepped inside the house, a full-blown thunderstorm started outside. Yeah, this world seriously needs to chill. We had peace for, what, like about 30 seconds? And I think we'd better stay inside for now. By this point, some of the torches in the house had already burnt out. And as it turns out, you can't simply relight them. You'll have to craft new ones. Thick fog rolled in, and visibility dropped to almost zero. This seemed like the perfect time to start digging a mine. I'd already marked out a small shaft inside the house, so this is where we'd begin. After several minutes of digging, I broke into a massive cave. There was a spider wandering below, and the cave itself was packed with useful ores. Wait, something's glowing over there too. Looks like mushrooms or something. I carefully made my way down and started mining iron and coal. Whoa, can you not scare me like that? This is honestly the perfect feeling. You're mining coal and right behind it there is iron. I decided not to go any deeper. There was already a skeleton down there, and I really didn't want to take any risks right now. So I headed back home. The blizzard was still raging outside. I put the iron into the furnace and made a separate chest for valuables. For now, we don't have much, but hopefully one day this chest will be completely full. Yeah, I think that's actually a cyclone. Really hoping all of this is over by morning. No, my torches burned out! Apparently, if torches get exposed to rain, they go out completely. And you can't even relight them with flint and steel. Using the smelted iron, I upgraded my pickaxe and even replaced my chest plate. And on the morning of the next day, despite the cold and blizzard, I decided to continue building the house. I started outlining the second floor. Style-wise, it'll be similar to the first floor, and oak will still be the main material. As for the walls, I decided to use spruce wood, and honestly, it fits this place perfectly. Looks like another cyclone is forming. Does the weather ever clock out around here? What was that? Another meteor? Alright, we've got a bigger elephant in this room right now. Looks like a new cyclone is starting. Or maybe the old one never ended. Either way, this whole thing looks absolutely terrifying. As it turns out, we settled in one of the least safe places possible. Because we're located right between a cold biome and a hot biome, far more natural disasters tend to form here. And with each passing day, the weather is only gonna get worse. I really don't like this. Please, please, get inside. It was an actual tornado, and judging by its path, it passed right next to our base. Why is it so loud? I finally finished the outline of the second floor, and I decided to place the staircase directly above the entrance to the mine. It'll also be made out of cobblestone stairs, and honestly, it's already starting to feel really cozy. Wow, just look at that! There is an aurora right above our base. You don't get to see that very often around here. My plan was to gather even more resources, so I crafted extra torches, boiled all of our water, and headed back into the mine. This time, I decided to fully explore the cave we discovered earlier. There were still tons of ores down there, and most importantly, iron. Alright, what kind of mushroom is this? Whoa, you can actually eat this thing? As it turned out, this glowing mushroom restores a huge amount of hunger. And honestly, that's an amazing find for us. The cave itself was absolutely massive. There were so many resources here, but I still didn't stay too long. The temperature deeper underground was unbearable. At some point, I literally started overheating, so I had to rush back to the surface. And outside, another storm was already waiting for us. Of course, it literally waited outside for me. The wind was so strong that being outside looked like the worst possible idea. But despite that, I kept working on the second floor. Or rather, I started marking out the outline for the future roof, since it was pretty much the only thing left to finish. And right at that moment, I finished the outline of the roof. It's gonna look something like this, and for the main material, I'll be using deep slate. It's much stronger than regular cobblestone, and considering everything that's been happening with the weather in this world, extra protection definitely won't hurt. As for the glowing mushrooms, I decided to place them inside the house. They'll make for a nice little living area. We accumulated quite a bit of iron during the last trip to the mine. I smelted it all down and finally crafted myself a full set of iron armor, helmet, leggings, and boots. Alright, that's it. Officially entering the Iron Age. Now my survival odds just went from 2% to maybe 3%. With the remaining ingots, I upgraded my pickaxe and axe as well. And with my new gear, I headed back into the mine. This time, I decided to dig in a different direction. After a while, I stumbled upon a huge flooded cave. And just look at how beautiful this place is. Ice formations could be seen in the distance, and the whole cave had such an incredible atmosphere. Man, this place looks absolutely amazing. I mined all the ores around me, crafted a boat, and continued exploring. Oh, that's a green mushroom. We don't have one of those yet. By the way, we'll need redstone too. Eventually, I reached the frozen section of the cave, and honestly, this place looked creepy as hell. Almost every block was covered in ice. Even to mine lapis, I had to break through the frozen layer first. No, no, please, just die already. Man, you really scared me there. After exploring the cave, I decided to dig even deeper. After all, deep slate was the main reason we came down here. Luckily, we were already close to Y level 0, so reaching it wasn't too difficult. And that's where I finally found my first diamonds. Not just 1 or 2 either, an entire vein of 8. Oh, now we are talking. I didn't stay much longer. I kept digging for a while, but eventually my iron pickaxe broke. By that point, I already mined a huge amount of deep slate and packed my inventory with resources, so I decided it was time to head home. Back at the base, I immediately smelted the ores, sorted everything into storage, and added to our mushroom collection. And most importantly, they can actually be used as a proper food source, so hopefully hunger won't be nearly as much as an issue anymore. Honestly, I've eaten worse in Minecraft. As for the forest near the house, one of the trees suddenly caught fire. And honestly, it looked incredibly strange. I still don't know whether it happened because of meteor or another hurricane. Meanwhile, I continued working on the roof. I crafted even more deep slate stairs and kept building the house. We need to finish everything as quickly as possible before another storm arrives, otherwise the base might simply not survive. The tree kept crumbling and burning away. Right now, the most important thing is making sure the fire doesn't spread to the other trees. After working through the entire night, I finally finished the roof. Added lighting to the second floor, and all that remained was decorating the attic and adding windows. For the attic, I decided to stick with spruce wood. It fits the style perfectly. On the morning of day 11, that tree had finally burned down completely. It doesn't seem like the fire is spreading any further, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye on the forest. Near the shore, not far from the house, I found some sand. We'll need it for windows, so I immediately started collecting it. And while it was still daytime, I decided to take a walk through the forest. I found some berries. But just a few minutes later, I started freezing, so I didn't stay here for long. And as it turned out, that was probably the best, because the fire situation suddenly got much worse. Man, I don't think we're stopping this anymore. The flames had already started spreading to the other trees, and we didn't really have anything to put them out properly. The fire kept spreading farther and farther, and if it reaches the base, we're gonna have some serious problems. Using the diamonds we'd mined earlier, I crafted a new pickaxe. And not far from the house, I made a small berry farm for the berries we found in the forest. As for the sand, most of it had already finished smelting. I made glass panes and finally started placing windows on the second floor. And of course, we can't forget the doors. One side will have a full entrance, and the other side will have a small balcony. And honestly, the house is starting to feel really cozy, you know, when it's not being threatened by every natural disaster imaginable. At this point, we can finally say that our base is practically finished. Only a few details inside remain. On the morning of the next day, I decided it was time to do some exploring. There had been a ship near us this entire time. And since one of the raiders decided to go for a swim, we had the perfect chance to safely search the vessel. The first thing I found was 2 damaged anvils. They will come in handy, assuming I don't accidentally drop one on my foot. There were also barrels containing emeralds and wood. And in the second section of the ship, there was an absolutely ridiculous amount of wool. Considering how close we live to the cold biome, extra insulation definitely won't hurt. I grabbed everything I could and even found some carrots. Guys, there is some huge thing moving right toward us. A massive rotation started forming in the distance, and honestly, I really don't like this. After a while, heavy rain started falling, and it seemed like a tornado was trying to form. But either it moved in another direction, or it spawned far away from us. In the end, the cyclone passed by, and I decided to continue my journey toward the glaciers. As I made my way through icy waters, I spotted the mast of a sunken ship sticking out above the surface. There was no way I was passing up another chance to grab some resources. Inside the first chest, I found a strange dragon egg, some emeralds, silk, and a bit of iron. The second chest contained rope, leather pants, and even tomato seeds. Please, no. We gotta get out of here now. Oh my god, I almost drowned down there. Yeah, never doing that again. As for the leather pants, it turns out they help protect against both heat and cold, so they will definitely come in handy later. In the last chest, I found a treasure map. The treasure was pretty far away, but I think we'll still try to find it. After that, I continued traveling through the glaciers. At first, the temperature was manageable, so I wasn't too worried. But once I moved a little farther, night fell. I was slowly freezing to death, and mobs just wouldn't leave me alone. Oh, he dropped a helmet. This is a warrior's helmet. We need to get out of here as fast as possible. By the end of it, I was almost out of food, down to a single heart, and desperately needed to find some kind of shelter. Please, just keep running. If we take even one hit right now, it's over. Near sunrise, I finally managed to reach the shore. The temperature here was slightly higher, so I finally stopped freezing. But my health was still a huge problem. At least home wasn't too far away anymore. Honestly, I've never been happier to see my house. By the way, our lantern went out too, and we're out of animal fat. Awesome. Now we're broke and in the dark. Back at home, the first thing I did was sort all the resources. And that helmet we've gotten earlier from the zombie turned out to be even slightly stronger than iron, so I decided to use it instead. I also placed the damaged anvils near the crafting table, boiled some water, and finally managed to recover a little health. At that point, I decided to take a closer look at the armor installation system. We'd collected a lot of wool earlier, and it turns out that with the sewing table, armor can be additionally insulated. For example, the chestplate can be upgraded up to 6 times. That way we'll be able to survive much longer in cold biomes. Meanwhile, leather pants help us tolerate both heat and cold a little better. On the morning of the next day, I finally decided to work on the farm. We'd already found several different crops, so now was the perfect time to start growing them, because our food problem still hadn't gone away. I cleared a small area near the berry farm, filled the soil, and planted potatoes on one side and tomato seeds on the other. For now, that's all we have, but hopefully it'll become a reliable food source in the future. As for the attic, we never actually finished it. I decided to use deep slate bricks for the floor, and honestly, they fit perfectly. I even reinforced the roof with them. Now, even inside the house, things feel a little safer. With every passing day, our base becomes more comfortable and more secure. And honestly, after all these storms and hurricanes, that's really nice to see. I spent the rest of the day chopping wood, and while I was at it, I decided to inspect the aftermath of the recent fire. Many of the trees had already burned down completely, but the most important thing, the fire wasn't spreading anymore. I'll take that as a rare victory. That night, the weather was incredibly weird. It wasn't raining, but thunder kept rumbling in the distance, and a massive cloud was hanging over the forest. Whoa, did you guys see that? There is some gigantic cloud over there. To give our crops at least some protection, I finally decided to build a proper roof over the farm. I used spruce fences for the supports and added slabs on top. Guys, what the heck is happening over there? Blocks suddenly started flying everywhere, and the craziest part was it wasn't even raining. It was some kind of mini tornado. It went straight through the forest, tearing apart everything in its path. And the worst part, it hit our farm. Of course it did. It couldn't have picked literally anywhere else. I knew I should have reinforced the farm way sooner. Even though almost nothing was left, I still decided to finish what we'd started. Man, sunrises here really are beautiful. As for the snowy forest near our house, I started noticing strange trees without trunks in the distance. It looked really suspicious, so I decided to head over there and see what was going on. After some time, I reached a small snowy clearing. The trees there were absolutely massive, and honestly, the atmosphere was incredible. No, I fell! What the heck is that? If I hadn't fallen down here, that centipede would have definitely eaten me. Die, please. Oh, come on. Got it. A lit lantern. That'll definitely come in handy. I still couldn't stay in the snowy forest for too long. The temperature there was just awful. Back home, I realized I could finally repair our warrior's helmet using ingots. We still had 5 diamonds left too, so I decided to spend some of them on boots. At this point, armor is literally a matter of survival for us. I had accumulated enough wool as well, so I fully insulated both the helmet and the boots. Now we are much better prepared for winter. As for the area around the house, I decided to clean things up a little. I leveled the ground, cleared out some space, and removed the rocky soil so grass could slowly spread back over it. The next morning, I crafted a bunch more campfires and set out on a proper journey into the forest. Not far from base, I found fresh meteor remains. Looks like that's what caused the fire. By the way, magma's gonna come in handy too. It seems to warm us up pretty well. The farther I traveled into the forest, the warmer it became. Some trees had cobwebs hanging from them. Since we can turn those into wool, I decided to collect them. Hey there, little rooster. By the way, pears will come in handy too. Honestly, any food is useful right now. After a while, I stumbled upon a small pumpkin field, and right beside it stood some kind of strange structure. As it turned out, it was an entire village hidden in the aspen forest, and it looked absolutely amazing. Every sign had a sign with its purpose. For example, this one belonged to the map collector. Inside, I found paper, empty maps, and a few more useful supplies. Inside the archer's house, I found arrows and string, so I even crafted myself a new bow. Overall, the village was pretty large. Almost every building had something useful inside. Food, emeralds, rice. And inside the blacksmith tent, I even found some obsidian. That's gonna be useful for a lot of crafting recipes. From the shelters, I collected additional wool and even more grains. My inventory was practically full at this point, so I had to prioritize only most important items. The next day, I decided to head back home. We already had more than enough resources. Besides, another storm was starting to gather in the distance, which meant I needed to get back to the base as quickly as possible. After returning home, I immediately sorted all the resources and added even more lamps inside the house. Guys, is that mosquito thing again? We already had a bow, so I finally decided it was time to deal with that monster. Take that. Oh, it's spitting something. Die. Whew. After a while, I finally managed to kill it. Unfortunately, it didn't drop anything useful. As for the farm, we'd managed to collect quite a few more crops by now. I decided to dedicate one section to potatoes, and as for the rice, it requires its own water source. I used the other half of the farm for cabbage. Meanwhile, the storm outside was only getting stronger, so I didn't spend much time outdoors anymore. As it turns out, we can reinforce glass with obsidian, so I decided to replace all our regular windows with reinforced ones. They can withstand hurricanes much better, and honestly, they look pretty nice too. And as you can see, even breaking this kind of glass by hand isn't easy. Despite all the time passing, the weather still wasn't coming down. New storm clouds began forming in the distance, and honestly, I really didn't like them. Guys, doesn't that kind of look like a tornado? That thing is way too huge. That's actually a tornado. A massive funnel cloud slowly began moving across the glaciers. Oh my god, it's heading straight for us. I really hope our house can handle this. On the morning of the next day, I decided to return to the village. Last time I didn't take all the resources, and we desperately needed seeds and wheat. I finally wanted to start raising animals, and as it turns out, the rooster in the forest wasn't alone. He had a girlfriend, and even a black friend. I decided to bring the whole gang back home. We don't have a proper place for them yet, but I'm planning to build a full egg farm right in the attic. Whoa, now that meteor landed really close. Bro, where do you think you're going, buddy? You're not getting here. Door's closed. After some time, I finally decided to work on the future egg farm. I built a small collection system with a chest, placed glass on the sides, and prepared the spot for the chicken. Though I only managed to lure one chicken inside for now, still that'll be enough to get started. As for obsidian, we still had very little of it. So my next goal was to head back into the mines. This time I was searching for lava. I kept digging downward until eventually started hearing strange noises coming from the side. After digging toward the sounds, I entered a very strange cave. There was a red fog hanging everywhere and some seriously creepy noises echoing around. But most importantly, that's where I found diamonds. After that, I kept digging all the way down to Y level -54, and from there I strip mined in a straight line. I found some redstone, but never managed to locate a lava lake. I didn't stay down here for too long. I returned home, sorted my resources, and decided to clear some of the snow around the base. I made a small path leading to the farm, and that's when I noticed something really bad. The forest, this time on the village side, had caught the fire again. And this fire was enormous. Almost every tree was burning. I didn't even try to put it out, because at this point it was far too late. All I could do was hope that sooner or later the flames would burn themselves out. That same night, hail began to fall. Guys, do you see that? Something like a fire tornado is starting to form right inside the flames. The fire itself was being lifted into the air, and honestly, it looked really bad. If a full-blown fire tornado actually forms in the forest, there is probably nothing we can do about it. And our chances of surviving won't be very good either. I was still hoping that thunderstorm would arrive and put out the fire, but the problem was something much worse than the storm was approaching. In the distance, a real funnel cloud was beginning to form, and it was heading straight toward us. At this point, I didn't really have any options left. All I could do was hope that the base would somehow survive this. As dawn approached, the fire only got worse, and the tornado kept getting closer and closer. Guys, are you seeing this? Everything's already flying around. Holy cows. I think it's coming right at us. Sorry, chicken, I'm getting underground. Oh god, we need to hide in the basement now. Oh my god, I think it's right above us. At some point, the entire basement started filling with fog. I think this is it. Outside, all I could hear was the wind, blocks breaking apart, and absolutely unreal roar. Guys, just look at this. There was almost nothing left of the house. It can't be real. What kind of tornado even was that? Even that ship sitting off in the distance, there was absolutely nothing left of it. The tornado had carved a gigantic trench all the way down to the stone. Almost nothing remained of the floor inside our house either. Thankfully, some of the chests survived. And most importantly, our valuables chest made it through the nightmare. The tornado itself passed fairly quickly, and after some time, the weather finally began calming down again. But now we had another problem. What are we supposed to do next? Try rebuilding the base, only for the next tornado to destroy it again? Or is it finally time to look for a new place to live? To be fair, we haven't accumulated that many resources yet, so if we have to move, we won't be losing that much. After the tornado, almost nothing had survived. Even the section of the forest that Twister passed through was completely destroyed. While I was still trying to process everything that had happened, another squall line began forming in the distance. And at that moment, I realized I wasn't risking my resources anymore. So I quickly grabbed everything valuable I could find from the surviving chests and head back into the basement. Outside, heavy snow and rain were already falling. And honestly, right now, the best thing we can do is just wait out the storm. Then we'll figure out what comes next. After a while, the thunderstorm finally started to die down. I collected all the resources that had survived, completely filled my inventory, and decided to wait until weather settled down completely. The wind was still incredibly strong, so starting our journey right away seemed like a terrible idea. For the last time, I looked back at the remains of our destroyed base and set off toward the village we'd visited several times before. By now, the forest fire had grown even larger. A huge part of the forest had already burned down completely, and honestly, I doubt we'll be able to stop it at all. On the way, I decided to spend the night in the village, and on the morning of the next day, I continued my journey toward the spruce forest. My plan was to find a place with a decent temperature, or maybe some mountains where I could build a proper bunker right inside the rock. The journey promised to be a long one, and most likely we'll see plenty more strange things along the way. The problem was something else. Most of the world here is either freezing cold or unbelievably hot, and only occasionally do you come across small pockets where the temperature is actually livable. So I kept moving in short bursts from one safe zone to the next, until eventually I stumbled upon a strange structure made out of ship. There were villagers living there, but inside I found nothing except a few potatoes, so I didn't stay long. After some time I reached another cold biome. The temperature here was much lower, and honestly I had no desire to stay here for long. Man, the sunrise here is gorgeous. Oh, you idiot! Let me stand here in peace! Die already! Little bastard! Couldn't even let me enjoy the sunrise! Stupid seagulls too! After traveling for a while longer, I came across a huge clearing next to a small mountain. And this place looked absolutely beautiful. There was a little bee house nearby, forests all around, and the whole area felt incredibly cozy. And honestly, I seriously considered settling here. Inside one of the cliffs, I carved out a small opening and slowly started digging out a new shelter. The only problem was the temperature. Outside, the heat was unbearable, and the only place where I could cool down at all was our tiny cave. But despite that, I still really like this place. I dug out a small room, placed a chest and a crafting table, and slowly started moving my stuff in. Using iron, I crafted a new shovel and upgraded my axe. I spent almost the entire day expanding the shelter, but as night approached, things turned out to be much worse than expected. The temperature suddenly started climbing even higher, and I had absolutely no idea why. I didn't have many options. First, I started desperately digging sideways, and then downward. After a while, I stumbled across some kind of structure and immediately rushed inside. There was water, but the problem was that even that barely helped against the heat. After that whole ordeal, I decided to wait things out for a while. The temperature outside was still way too high almost everywhere. I restored my thirst, ate something, and only after some time finally ventured back outside. Inside the shelter, I added a water source. At least now I had somewhere I could properly cool off. The next morning, I decided to visit that little bee house. Honestly, there wasn't anything particularly valuable inside, except for the lanterns. Those, of course, I grabbed immediately. I like this area so much that I decided to properly explore the surroundings land. Maybe somewhere nearby there was a place with a more suitable temperature. I explored almost the entire biome and the nearby forests, but the problem was that the temperature everywhere remained slightly above normal. And considering the storms and weather changes, that could become a huge problem later on. So I decided not to stay here. I packed up all my resources, grabbed the anvil, and by evening I was ready to move on. Man, this place is really beautiful. On the morning of day 25, I continued my journey. Wow, just look at these ice spikes out in the ocean. That looks incredible. After some time, I came across a huge rain portal. There wasn't much useful there, but in the distance I could already make out new mountains. And honestly, they looked incredibly promising. Just look at the floating island. This place is absolutely amazing. And I think we finally found the perfect spot. Cold biome nearby, mountains, perfect temperature. Now we just have to decide exactly where we want to settle. Wow, there are even some beautiful plants here. I think they'll be great for decoration later. After walking a little farther, I emerged in a cherry grove. And honestly, this place looked absolutely stunning. There was a mountain slope nearby, giant pink trees all around, and the atmosphere here felt incredibly cozy. Eventually, I found the perfect location for our new base, right between the oak forest and the cherry grove. I dug a tunnel directly into the mountainside and carved out the first main room. Right away, placed a crafting table, a chest, and unloaded all the extra resources. Since it was still daytime, I decided to stock up on wood as much as possible. I wasn't planning to make the shelter just safe. I wanted it to be beautiful and cozy too. By the way, this mushroom restores a ton of hunger. Whoa, it almost fills the entire saturation bar. Besides oak, I also gathered cherry wood. That's what I wanted to use for decorating the house, especially since there was a gigantic cherry tree nearby. And honestly, I think this is the best place we could have possibly settled. I spent almost the entire day chopping wood, and after returning home, the first thing I worked on was the floor. I decided to use stone bricks, so all the cobblestone we'd gathered earlier immediately went into the furnaces. At the same time, I slowly started expanding the base. Our main room will be deeper inside the mountain, while I decided to turn the entrance area into something like a hallway. I raised the ceiling, widened the space a little, and continued laying down the stone brick floor. And honestly, it's already starting to feel really cozy. This section of the base will be where we store all our main resources. By now we had collected a bit of leather, so I crafted some item frames and finally organized the chest properly. For example, this one will hold all our wood, and over there we'll keep blocks and various plants. Meanwhile, another storm started outside. This time I wasn't too worried. We've got a proper shelter deep underground now. As for the walls, I decided to decorate them with cherry wood. For now, I only outlined the design, but I already had a pretty good idea of how everything would look. Next to the main room, I immediately decided to make a separate branch for our future farm. I added a small staircase leading down, decorated the entrance with cherry logs, and kept digging out more space. This is where our first farm is gonna be. I covered the area with dirt, added water, placed some lighting, and prepared the crop rows. At the moment, all we had left were tomatoes and rice. I planted the tomatoes right away, and as you remember, rice only grows in water, so I had to make a separate section for it. For now, the farm looks pretty modest, but it's a start. As for my pickaxe, it was almost broken. I still had some diamonds left, so I crafted a new one and finally decided to work on the mine. At first, I wanted to make it 3 blocks wide, but after a while I realized I'd be digging forever this way. So I switched back to a regular stair-step mining. Before long, I ran into the first cave, though there wasn't anything particularly useful inside. I kept digging, and after some time I found another one. There were more and more caves around me, and they weren't exactly looking safe. I didn't want to take any risks, so I just kept going deeper and deeper. Eventually, I started finding ores. First diamonds, and another set of diamonds, and a little later I even found some lapis. But the strangest thing was waiting below. There was a massive cave completely covered in Skillux, and honestly, that place looked creepy as hell. I didn't dare to go any deeper, so I just headed back home. I sorted my resources, put the ores into the furnaces, and decided to work on the farm a little. Some of the tomatoes had already grown, so we need to finally start expanding it. I enlarged the right section too, and decorated with the pink trapdoors. Please, die! Die! Where the heck did you even come from? If I hadn't noticed him in time, things could have gone very badly. Since it was still daytime, I decided to explore the area around our base a little. There wasn't much of interest on the mountain behind the house. Horses were wandering nearby, and further away there was a savanna. Wow, just look at those islands. That looks incredible. Maybe we'll try exploring them in the future, but for now I didn't stay long. By now, some of our lanterns were beginning to burn out. Thankfully, we still had one spare lamp. On the morning of the next day, I decided to go on a proper expedition. A thick fog covered everything outside, and after some time, a heavy rain started. But despite that, I kept moving forward until eventually I spotted a strange cabin. It looked pretty safe, so I decided to wait out the storm there. And it turned out to be a great idea. Inside was an insane amount of loot, resources, food, and some really weird mushroom hat. Nah, it's a Mexican hat. Yeah, of course it provides almost no protection, so I decided not to take it. Besides that, I found blaze powder, rabbit meat, fish, and even a brewing stand with water bottles. No way, looting 3! I haven't been this lucky in ages. Some kind of orb, and the diamond hoe. By the way, the diamond hoe is the most useful thing here, obviously. You're gotta be kidding me. All my torches went out. Even meteors are landing here now. I didn't drag the trip out for too long, and by that same night I had returned home. I threw the meat into the furnace, sorted the resources, and continued slowly improving the base. By the way, these mushrooms are actually insane. They restore an absurd amount of saturation. 20 saturation points. That's a full bar, just so you know. Oh no, run! Block it off! We've gotta block it off, quick! A gigantic mosquito had appeared right inside my base, and it was so huge that at first I didn't even understand what I was looking at. I immediately barricaded myself inside, and honestly, I was genuinely scared to go outside. At first I tried shooting it with my bow, but the arrows just passed straight through it. Then I tried digging underneath it, but even then I couldn't seem to deal any damage. And that's when I started to realize this probably wasn't even a real creature. It just stood there inside my house and wasn't reacting to anything, almost like some kind of hologram. To make sure, I decided to test it with lava. I went down into the mine, dug my way to the lava lake, and filled the bucket. But when I returned, the thing was gone, and thanks God for that. I quickly sealed up the holes, cleaned up the extra blocks, and finally let out a sigh of relief. As for the lamps, after our last expedition, we'd accumulated a decent amount of animal fat, so at least for a while we won't have to worry about lighting. Alright, I'm confused. Is this rice ever gonna grow or what? I decided to plant it a little deeper. Maybe the problem was with the water. As you may remember, we had already found a lava lake earlier, and since we're definitely gonna need more obsidian anyway, I decided to stock up while I had the chance. The only problem was the temperature. Because of the lava, I would start overheating almost immediately, so I constantly had to back off, cool down, and then return to mining. In the end, I managed to collect 14 blocks of obsidian. That's enough for another portal and an enchantment table. At the same time, I kept slowly expanding our bunker, and I decided to start with the farming section. From here, we'll have a separate entrance leading into a new room. Originally, I wanted it to be circular, but my pickaxe was already close to breaking, so for now I had to settle for something simpler. I built the portal, lit it, and immediately headed into the nether. And honestly, things were even worse here. We spawned in the absolute worst location possible. The temperature rose insanely fast, and the only thing I managed to notice nearby was some glowstone, which we desperately needed. With it, we can make permanent light sources, so I mined as much as I could as quickly as possible and immediately ran back to the portal. Still, even from that short trip, I managed to bring back 33 glowstone dust, and that was already more than enough. Using the dust and some sticks, I crafted new torches, then turned them into lamps. And honestly, I think they shine even brighter than regular ones. And best of all, they never need refueling. I placed lamps all around the base and even lit up part of the mine shaft. Meanwhile, another storm was beginning to form outside. I had originally planned to go gather wood, but I didn't want to risk it, so I decided to just wait it out at home. After some time, a wandering trader showed up. By now, we'd accumulated a few emeralds, and as it turns out, he was selling some pretty interesting stuff. I bought a plush shark, some tiny cacti, and a willow sapling. Aw, just look at the shark! It's so cute! I placed the cacti next to the nether portal. We don't really have a dedicated decoration area yet, but even so, they already look pretty nice. As for the everlasting lamps, they actually burn through glowstone pretty quickly. So I decided to head back into the nether for more glowstone and take a quick look around while I was there. And honestly, there's basically nothing near us. I have no idea how we are supposed to find the nether fortress. Truth be told, I didn't just need glowstone for the lamps. With glowstone and redstone, we can craft something extremely useful. The problem was that I barely had any redstone left, so my next dedication was the mine. Pretty quickly I found a small cave, and inside it discovered a vein of redstone. I didn't stay long, just mined what I needed, and headed straight home. Back at the base, I crafted some redstone torches, gathered the remaining materials, and finally made a tornado sensor. Then, using that along with a lamp and some diamonds, I crafted a full weather radar. And this thing is incredibly useful. Now, whenever a storm or tornado approaches, we'll be able to see everything in advance right on the radar. And as you can see, for now everything is clear, which is great. We still had some obsidian left over, so my next goal was finally making an enchantment table. Unfortunately, we didn't have many books. I only had enough for 4 bookshelves. Place inside the base is still pretty limited, so I placed the table right next to the nether portal. I was almost out of diamonds, and my pickaxe was barely hanging on, so I made a regular iron one for now. I enchanted my books and helmet with protection, and the pickaxe with efficiency too. And honestly, that's already more than enough for now. Still, the diamond problem hadn't gone away, so I headed back into the mines. This time with one specific goal in mind: diamonds. I returned to the lava cave and quickly found my first vein. There were 3 diamonds in it, and little further away I spotted another one. Honestly, all I really needed right now were enough resources for a new pickaxe. So I didn't drag the trip out. Back home, I crafted a new pickaxe and immediately enchanted it with efficiency too. Now mining is gonna be so much easier. I decided to dedicate day 37 entirely to decorating and expanding the base. Almost the entire day was spent gathering wood, mostly oak and cherry. After some time, new storm clouds started appearing in the distance, and now we can actually see them from the radar. Nothing critical yet, but it's always better to stay alert. As for all the wood I'd collected, I started decorating the walls with oak and added some small decorative patterns. There we go. I finally finished the main room, and honestly, it's getting really cozy in here. For the ceiling, I decided to use deep slate bricks. They are much stronger than regular cobblestone and should stand up better against tornadoes if one ever starts digging down toward us. Besides, they just look awesome. Alright, we've officially got a proper tomato farm now. After that, I moved on to decorating the farming section. I added a cherry wood frame, stripped the logs, and placed some lamps around. Honestly, this turned out really nice. I used deep slate bricks for the ceiling here too, but this time I added more depth using stairs and slabs. And honestly, it fits perfectly. I decorated the walls with oak planks and added a few small stair patterns in certain spots. And this is the final result. Honestly, the base is starting to feel genuinely cozy. And as for the rice, it finally started growing. From the very first plant, I managed to get several new seeds. And now we can finally start expanding our rice fields properly. After expanding the basement, we practically ran out of wood. Especially cherry wood, so I spent all day 40 simply chopping down trees around the base. I also noticed the remains of the meteor not too far away, and as it turns out, meteor stone can be mined normally with a pickaxe. It drops fragments, and just one fragment gives 9 pieces of raw iron. That's absolutely insane. And while I was excavating the meteor, I even managed to find diamond inside. As for iron, one meteor alone gave us more than 2 stacks. I threw everything into the furnaces and decided to continue expanding the bunker. As you may remember, we have the enchanting table next to the nether portal, and I think it deserves its own proper room. This time I decided to make it round as well, but with more of a cave-like style. I carved out a small dome, decorated the walls with stone stairs and slabs, and slowly started adding details. And honestly, it's already looking really atmospheric. I designed the center of the room like this, and finally placed the enchantment table here. We don't have many bookshelves yet, but that's only a matter of time. Eventually, this will become a full max level enchantment setup. No, please! Stupid lava! How did I even manage to spill it right inside my house? To make the room feel less empty, I hung lamps from chains and added some cherry leaves and pink vines. And honestly, the cherry leaves fit in perfectly. On the morning of day 44, I decided to check out the area around the base. And it turned out that a meteor had recently slammed right into our giant cherry tree, which is not exactly great. But while exploring, I found another meteor, and considering how much iron you can get from them, I immediately started digging it up. By the end of the day, I'd managed to collect a full stack of meteor fragments, which translates to 9 stacks of iron. Yeah, we don't even have enough furnaces for all this. Guess we'll smelt it little by little. We're gonna need an entire barrel just for iron. We're getting way too much of it. As for the rice, it finally started spreading properly. Our farm is slowly starting to look like a real one. On the morning of day 45, I decided to set off on another adventure. We still need to explore the area around the base and look for new crops and useful resources. After some time, I came across a small house sitting right in the middle of the ocean. Inside were some sweet berries and quite a few bookshelves. Yeah, I'm definitely taking those bookshelves. Whoa, what kind of forest is this? After a while, I reached a massive birch forest, and this place looked absolutely incredible. Giant trees, enormous trunks. The atmosphere here was amazing. Little spider? Hey there, little spider. But by nighttime, I had to find somewhere to rest. The perfect option turned out to be a giant tree. I climbed up and spent the night inside it. The next morning, I continued my journey, and after a while, I reached a forest filled with mahogany trees. They looked really unusual. And honestly, the wood looks fantastic, especially considering most of the bunker already uses pink tones. Man, those ants are huge. They can't even fit inside their own anthill. By the end of the day, I had collected over 3 stacks of the new wood. That should last us quite a while. Guys, a meteor just landed over there. Oh, come on, a whole plane is gonna burn down now. We need to put this out somehow. Using water, I managed to extinguish most of the fire. And well, if the meteor already landed, why not grab a little more iron? It's definitely not gonna hurt. Dang, nice outfit you got there, buddy. Oh nice, he dropped his pants. They have a really good protection, but they come with a -5% speed debuff. By dawn, I finally made it back home, sorted all the resources, and repaired the new pants. And honestly, the speed penalty is barely noticeable, but the extra protection is definitely useful. As for the bookshelves, after all these trips, we had accumulated quite a few of them, which means we can finally build a proper max level enchantment setup. Originally, I wanted to start exploring the nether, but there was one problem: temperature. Staying there was practically impossible. Still, during my travels I had managed to gather some ice, and as it turns out, standing near it helps cool you down. Using ice next to the portal didn't completely solve the problem, of course, but it did create a small safe zone where I could at least cool off a bit. And that gave me some hope for future nether expeditions, though I still couldn't venture too far from the portal. And considering our spawn location, I doubt we'll find any structures anytime soon. Man, these stupid tomatoes barely restore any hunger. To cool down our armor, we'll need either rabbit hide or leather, which means it's time for another adventure. After traveling a bit farther, I reached a savanna sitting on top of cliffs, and the place looked absolutely incredible. In the distance, I spotted cows, which means we're not gonna have any leather problems anymore.
No way, is that a whale? Looks like it's hunting a squid. Man, this place is beautiful. Those cliffs.
A little later, I found even more cows. Rabbits, on the other hand, were surprisingly rare.
Yes, this is seriously the most valuable thing we could get right now.
That night, I stumbled upon another herd of cows, and at that moment, I started wondering, should I even kill them? Maybe it'd be much better to bring them all the way back to our base and start a proper farm. I quickly gathered some seeds, turned bones into bone meal, and grew a little wheat. Now we had bait for the cows. Though there was one problem. We were really far away from home, and dragging animal halfway across the world wasn't gonna be easy. But since I'd already committed to this, there was no turning back.
By the way, that's corn. We'll be able to grow that back at the base later.
Grass around here also drops fibers, and with those you can craft leads. And honestly, that's way more convenient than dragging animals around with wheat. After some time, I could finally see the cherry biome in the distance, which means we were almost home.
Come on, cows. Let's go, let's go. We're almost there.
By this point, it was completely dark, but we finally managed to bring them home.
That was probably the longest trip of my life.
I didn't have a proper pen for the cows yet, so for now I decided to keep them right in the entrance hall. After all our recent adventures, we'd gathered a bunch of new crops, and I figured it was finally time to properly expand our farm. But there was one problem. Hail had started falling outside again, and as you may remember, last time that didn't end well. I immediately checked the radar, and honestly, there was a small formation showing up. It was still far away, but definitely nothing to ignore. We already had a basic tornado sensor, but this time I decided to take things a step further. Using copper, iron, and the sensor itself, I crafted a full tornado siren. And honestly, this might be one of the most useful things in our base. Now, if a tornado starts heading our way, it'll warn us ahead of time.
Guys, it's a tornado. The siren's already going off. Seriously? I literally just placed this thing.
The wind suddenly started picking up, and just seconds later, blocks were already flying through the air.
Holy cows, are you guys seeing it? Half the forest about to get blown away.
Luckily, the tornado wasn't too powerful. After a while, the winds finally started calming down, and while the weather had settled down for the moment, I decided to continue expanding the farm. I think the area near the rice fields would be perfect for another large room. Besides, we still need space for an animal farm. My pickaxe was already on its last legs, but despite that, I still managed to dig out part of the new room. I also made a separate passage directly from the enchanting room, and by then my pickaxe had almost completely run out of durability. Thankfully, we still had some diamonds left, so I crafted a new pickaxe, enchanted it with Unbreaking 2, and combined it with the old one using an anvil. Hopefully, it'll last at least a little longer now. The first thing I did was outline the room using cherry logs. Then I added some small windows, and honestly, it's already looking really elegant.
Wait, do you hear that? I really don't like this. No, please. We need to put this out right now. Oh my god, the whole forest is gonna burn.
The fire spread through the trees incredibly quickly, and the problem was I couldn't even get too close to the flames. The temperature became unbearable, and I started taking damage almost immediately.
Oh my god, one heart left. Even putting out fires is dangerous here.
So I had to be extremely careful. I poured water little by little, letting it flow downhill and slowly extinguish the flames. And after some time, I actually managed to stop the fire. We were really lucky it had started near the edge of the forest. Otherwise, we would have lost the entire cherry biome. After that, I removed all the smoldering blocks as an extra precaution. We simply can't afford to let this forest burn down. Back at home, I continued decorating the new room. I added the oak plank walls, finished the ceiling in the same style, and slowly started connecting everything to the farm. And honestly, it's turning out really beautiful.
Okay, something is seriously wrong here. Why am I freezing inside my own house?
A massive storm front appeared on the radar again, and this time it brought snow mixed with rain. Good thing I'd already prepared some magma blocks. They actually do a pretty decent job keeping you warm. Eventually, I finished the new farming section completely. I tilled the soil and planted corn, some wheat, potatoes and carrots. And honestly, if all of this grows properly, our food problems should finally become much easier. In the other half of the room, I decided to make something like a decorative garden. I decorated the entrance to the enchanting room, added little areas for plants. And honestly, the atmosphere in here is amazing.
By the way, corn grows insanely fast. And it restores a ton of hunger too. Looks like this is gonna be our main food from now on.
As for the cows, I plan to build them a proper farm right behind the new room. Originally, I wanted to make the pen in the same style as the enchanting room, something like a separate cave right inside the base. First, I dug upward to the surface and laid down a dirt path so the grass could slowly spread inward. After all, the cows need somewhere to graze. In the end, I ended up with this nice circular area. This is where the pen will be from now on. I raised the ceiling a bit more, added another grass pathway, and covered the entire floor with dirt. And this section right here will be a separate area just for the cows. Some of the wheat had already grown by this point, which means we could finally start breeding the cows and getting more calves. Honestly, the base is starting to turn into a full-blown underground survival bunker. As for our armor, we'd already insulated almost every piece, except the pants. And rabbit hide can actually be used to cool armor down. I only had 2 pieces, so I filled the remaining slots with regular leather. It provides a little protection against both heat and cold. And honestly, that could be a huge help in the future, especially if we decide to seriously explore the Nether again. On top of that, thanks to all our iron blocks, we could finally craft a heavy chest plate. Say minus 5% movement speed penalty, but the protection is much better. This time I insulated it with leather. Since it was still daytime, I gathered some sand, smelted it down, and crafted a bunch more water bottles. Up until now, we'd been traveling with just 3 bottles, and we'd run out of water way too quickly. Traveling should be much easier now. And now back to the Nether. As crazy as it sounds, exploring the Nether is absolutely essential right now. Without it, we simply can't progress properly. No blazes, no structures, no Nether resources. The only problem was the heat. Even with all our upgraded armor, it barely helped. I tried different setups using ice and snow. Tried cooling off near the portal, but nothing really worked. As for the cold, things were getting worse there too. Even with insulated armor, I was still freezing pretty quickly. Looks like winter is almost here. At this point, it became obvious. We need to prepare for the cold, and fast. For now, the magma block still does a decent job keeping us warm, but that definitely won't be enough forever. Using gold and redstone, I crafted a proper thermometer, and honestly, this is one of the most useful tools we've made. Now we can actually see the exact temperature around us. As you can see, it's much hotter near the Nether portal, and that's exactly why I needed the thermometer. After some time, the temperature near the ice slowly started dropping, but the problem was, it just refused to go below 100 degrees.
Man, we're literally just a tiny bit short.
Just so you understand, if the temperature stays above 100, sooner or later we'll still die from overheating. And that's exactly what's preventing us from properly exploring the Nether. So for now, I decided to put that idea aside.
Alright, the thermometer looks perfect right here. 58 degrees inside the house, which, by the way, is already below average.
As for resources, we still didn't have much, especially diamonds and redstone, so my next stop was the mines once again. I returned to the same lava cave, gathered some obsidian, and almost immediately found another diamond vein. Actually, I needed the obsidian for a different idea. I wanted to try exploring the Nether through the overworld. Travel some distance, build a new portal, see where it leads, and slowly explore both dimensions at the same time.
Wow, just look at those islands. There are even spruce saplings growing on the honeycomb blocks.
Eventually, I reached the mahogany forest. That's where I built a new portal, and immediately stepped inside to see what was waiting on the other side. And honestly, things weren't much better. We spawned in the middle of nowhere again. There was absolutely nothing useful around. Within 15 seconds, I was already suffering from severe dizziness. Still, before leaving, I noticed a huge vein of glowstone directly above me. And since our lamps burn through glowstone really fast, I decided to risk it and bridge up to it. And honestly, that was a terrible idea. At some point, I got so dizzy that I could barely hit blocks with my pickaxe. And once I finally started breaking my way back down, my hearts began disappearing at an insane speed.
Oh god, please, please, just let me make it. I can't see anything. Where's the water? Water, 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 please.
Honestly, I have no idea how I survived that. But despite everything, I managed to collect a lot of glowstone. A little over 2 stacks, and that was more than enough. After that, I dismantled the portal and continued my journey.
Just look at how beautiful this place is. There are even some kind of amethyst peaks over there. This looks incredible.
After some time, I reached a really strange biome filled with giant oak trees and enormous mushrooms. The place felt incredibly atmospheric, and nearby I even found a small hut. There were way too many mobs at night, so I decided to stay there until morning. Inside I found some emeralds, mushrooms, and most importantly, fish.
Alright, let's see if we can tame him. Aww, how cute he is. Your name is gonna be Eric. Holy cows, these mushrooms restore so much saturation. This is insane. 64 saturation, can you even imagine? This miso soup is literally the best food in the game. I think these mushrooms are gonna replace all our other food.
By sunrise, I finally continued my journey. In the distance, I could already see another birch forest, and that's exactly where I decided to head next. The only problem was the temperature. Because of the cold, I would start freezing pretty quickly, and that's exactly why I kept having to build new nether portals just to warm up a little.
And once again, we're spawning in the middle of nowhere.
I'd warm up near the portal, tear it down, and continue moving forward.
Wait, where is Eric? I haven't seen him like 10 minutes.
The cold started getting to me again, so I had to quickly build another portal.
Oh, Eric! What are you doing over here? And doesn't it kind of look like he changed colors?
I put Eric in a boat and tried to bring him back to the overworld.
Nice. No, Eric! Where are you going? My cat, no! How'd you even manage to drown in water, you idiot? Well, that's it. We don't have a cat anymore.
After about another day of traveling, I finally made it back home. By now, the temperature had dropped even further. The cold was starting to feel constant. I sorted the resources, crafted some new lamps, and finally decided to finish decorating the cow cave. I smoothed out the corners with stairs and slabs, added cherry leaves, vines, and hanging lamps on chains. And honestly, it's looking really atmospheric. There was just one problem: the cold was getting worse and worse. Now even the magma block barely helped keep me warm. The only place where the temperature was still somewhat comfortable was the nether portal. Despite that, I continued decorating the portal room. This time, I decided to make it match the style of the rest of the base. A roof made of deep slate bricks, small accents of pink wood, and hanging lanterns. As for the walls, I even made a decorative pattern. And honestly, it turned out really beautiful. As for the portal itself, I completely removed the old one and placed the new one right in the center of the room, making it 3 blocks wide. For the floor, I decided to combine stone bricks with cherry wood, and I think it fits perfectly. As for the cow farm, the grass had fully spread by now. I removed all the temporary blocks, sealed up the unnecessary holes, and continued breeding the animals. I think it's time to expand the wheat fields, otherwise we're just not going to have enough food for all these cows. Meanwhile, the rice farm had finally spread completely. Now we had a proper, reliable source of food. As for the tomatoes, I decided to get rid of half of them. Honestly, they're just not that useful, so I replaced them with potatoes instead. The morning of day 61 began with yet another freeze. I took a walk around the base, mined the remains of a meteor, and finally realized something unpleasant. We probably won't be traveling anytime soon, because the cold had become unbearable. And the scariest part, the temperature kept dropping even inside our bunker. To help survive the freezing weather, I decided to try building a boiler. With it, we can heat up water bags. And as you can see, their temperature slowly starts rising. If you pour that water on yourself afterward, you warm up a little. Though honestly, it doesn't help all that much. Still, it's nice to have something like that in reserve. To distract myself from the endless cold, I headed down into the mines. Even underground, the temperature felt noticeably colder than usual. So I immediately picked up some lava, just in case I needed to warm up quickly. And then I continued strip mining at Y level -54. First, I found redstone, then gold. And after some time, I finally came across diamonds.
Alright, what kind of basalt is this? Oh wow, it looks like some kind of crystal geode. Except it's not amethyst, it's quartzite.
Later on, I ran into a massive iron vein as well. But considering how many meteor fragments we'd already mined, we practically didn't care about iron anymore.
Warming up, warming up. Oh, more diamonds! And that's actually pretty big vein. 8 diamonds!
After a long mining session, I finally returned home, sorted everything, and counted the loot. In total, we got 12 diamonds from that trip. As for the temperature, things had only gotten worse. I decided to take a walk around the base and see how bad things had become. Some bodies of water had already started freezing over. While looking through new crafting recipes, I came across something very interesting: a hearth. To make it, we'd need nether bricks and soul sand. And considering we'd started feeling a little more confident in the nether, I decided to go for it.
By the way, with some redstone and iron bars, we can make an anemometer. It measures wind speed.
I immediately placed it outside the base, and honestly, it's incredibly useful.
Looks like another storm's coming soon.
Snow was already falling heavily outside, and this time there wasn't almost any rain. The temperature kept dropping day after day.
11 degrees, 12. This is absolutely bad.
At least we could still warm up properly near the portal, but after a while, a new problem appeared.
No, my crops! They're starting to wither because of the frost. This is really bad.
To survive longer in the nether heat, I crafted a refrigerator. It required snowballs, so before that I spent some time collecting snow around the base. Now we could cool water down. My plan was finally to move farther away from the portal and try to descend closer to the lava seas, where soul sand usually generates. Slowly, little by little, I dug deeper and deeper. And after some time, I finally spotted a small patch of soul sand below.
Please, no, please, 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 please. We absolutely cannot die right now. And what's going on with the fog here?
I quickly made my way down and started mining as much soul sand as I could.
Some kind of soul sprouts.
As it turns out, they lower your temperature by 20 degrees for a full minute.
Oh god, only 3 hearts left.
By this point, winter had officially arrived. The temperature dropped below zero.
-1 degree. This is really bad.
I smelted the netherrack into nether bricks and finally crafted a proper heater. Basically, if we put coal into the heater and power it with redstone, our base should slowly start warming up. But the problem was, nothing happened. The temperature didn't rise even by a single degree. Honestly, I had no idea why. Maybe I'd done something wrong, or maybe the system just worked differently than I expected. But in the end, the only reliable way to stay warm was still the nether portal. By this point, we'd accumulated quite a few diamonds, so I decided to make a proper diamond one. Especially since, as you may remember, we had found a looting 3 book earlier. I immediately slapped it onto the sword.
Alright cows, let's get busy, don't be shy. We need a little more leather. Oh, nice, 3 pieces right away.
I decided to use the leather to make insulation for a minecart. And if you attach it to a regular minecart, it turns into an insulated version, where we might actually be able to warm up. Sadly, it doesn't heat you up, but while sitting inside, your temperature doesn't drop, and that's already pretty good.
There we go. Just let it sit here for now. Honestly, it looks pretty comfy.
Next, I decided to work on a sugarcane farm. We'd found sugarcane during our travels before, but never actually tried growing it at home. I chose the left side of the farming area for the new room. Plus, there'll be lava nearby, which means we won't freeze as quickly. The room ended up being roughly the same size as the rest of the base, but this time I decided to decorate it using mahogany wood. And honestly, it looks incredible. It's slightly darker than the cherry wood and fits perfectly with the overall atmosphere of the bunker. The only problem was that we needed even more oak, and our supplies were almost gone. So I spent the rest of the day chopping trees around the base. In the end, I gathered almost 4 stacks of wood. That should last us quite a while. Back home, I continued expanding the sugarcane room. I finished the outline, decorated the walls, and built the ceiling out of deep slate bricks. And this is how it looks right now. All that was left was to make the actual farm. I dug up the floor and started alternating water with 2 blocks of dirt. Honestly, I think that's the most convenient layout for a normal farm. I don't really see the point of making it automatic yet. This amount of sugarcane will be more than enough for us. In the end, it turned out something like this, and honestly, it looks perfect. I covered the water with mahogany slabs and finally planted the first sugarcane shoots. We don't have much of it for now, but over time the farm will definitely grow. And of course, throughout all this, I didn't forget to keep breeding the cows, even though we were running dangerously low on wheat. You know, even in this freezing weather, I somehow felt like going on another adventure. Maybe there are warmer lands somewhere. Or maybe we should seriously start thinking about moving, because dealing with these temperatures is becoming harder and harder. This time I brought the minecart, magma blocks, a bucket of lava and bags of hot water with me. And I headed toward that giant tree we'd seen before. We had barely explored this part of the world.
Man, that tree used to look absolutely incredible, and now there is barely anything left of it. This is just insane, as long as the fire doesn't spread to our forest.
Honestly, I didn't even want to get close to the flames. The fire was just too intense. And things got even worse at night. There were an absurd number of mobs everywhere, especially phantoms.
Will you guys just leave me alone already? I can't even run properly, I keep tripping.
After a while, I finally noticed some kind of tower in the distance. There was a witch there, so I decided to pay her a visit.
Holy cows, there is parkour in here too!
I dealt with the witch pretty quickly. Inside, there was an enchanting table, though we didn't really need that anymore. But upstairs, there were chests full of food and books, and that was way more useful. Though another problem appeared. Because of the cold, I couldn't even sleep properly.
Oh, no, I'm on fire! Don't die, don't die! 1.5 hearts! Oh god, just never do this at home.
In the end, I just sat inside the minecart, placed a magma block nearby, and carefully poured lava next to myself. That way, I calmly waited for sunrise and finally escaped this cursed tower the next morning.
Oh man, I've only got 2 hearts left.
In the distance, I spotted another small building right in the middle of the ocean. I decided to stop there for a while and wait out the frost. There wasn't anything particularly valuable inside, just some food and a golden apple, but honestly, I just wanted to rest. The place was peaceful, and the scenery around it was breathtaking. Eventually, thunder started rumbling outside. Then a thick fog rolled in. Temperatures usually drop even lower during storms, but I still had lava with me, so keeping warm wasn't really a problem. After some time, the wind suddenly started getting stronger, and eventually I could actually feel myself being blown around.
Guys, something seriously messed up is happening out here. Just look at this blizzard. Holy cows, this whole house is about to fly away.
Thankfully, after a while, the wind slowly began to calm down. And by nighttime, I was just sitting in my minecart by the entrance, watching the blizzard.
Whoa, what was that? A meteor just landed right next to the house.
Eventually, morning finally came. The weather looked unbelievably beautiful. Well, if you ignored the fact that the cold had become almost unbearable.
Alright, let's continue our journey. Stupid seagull! It stole my bread! That was literally my last piece! Just die already! Honestly, I absolutely hate these seagulls now. Thunder again. Lava? Please, no! Water! Half a heart! Oh my god!
At that moment, I was genuinely starting to regret ever going on this trip. So in the end, I didn't spend too long wandering around in the freezing cold, and that very same night I finally returned home. The cold problem still hadn't gone away, so I decided to focus entirely on the bunker. First, I finally built proper stairs down to the mines so I could get underground faster. After that, I continued expanding the sugarcane farm and replanted the corn. It's basically the only crop that still grows properly during winter. As for the radar and the siren, I decided to move them closer to the enchanting room. After all, strong storms aren't all that common during winter. I also finally decided to move our heater. Where it was before, it just looked completely out of place. Besides, I had plans to make a proper exit to the surface and build a small watchtower nearby. This is where the entrance will be from now on. And honestly, I think something really interesting is starting to take shape.
Yeah, hail. That's really not good.
For now, I decided not to continue building the tower and just wait to see what was going to happen. There was some huge dark cloud in the distance, and honestly, I didn't like it one bit. Definitely not the kind of weather to go outside in. As for the heater, I moved it right next to the sugarcane farm. This time, instead of coal, I used lava. And just a few seconds later, it actually started working.
No way, it works! We got the warmth effect! The temperature inside should start going up! 75 degrees! No way! We are finally not freezing anymore!
Honestly, at that moment, it felt like a miracle, especially considering these were the harshest frosts we'd faced this entire survival. Now, the important thing was making sure the heater kept running. While the storm slowly moved away, I decided to try planting wheat again. Maybe now it had finally started growing. We still had one mulberry sapling left, so I planted that near the farm as well. Maybe it'll survive. But after some time, the wind started picking up again. The hail had already stopped.
Hold on, the siren? Don't tell me it's a tornado. Oh, that's actually a tornado. We need to hide now.
Thankfully, the twister passed a little to the side of our base, but it looked absolutely terrifying. It was literally ripping blocks out of the ground and throwing them into the air. Still, even after the storm, I wasn't about to give up on the watchtower idea. First, I marked out the exit to the surface, and then started building the outline of the first floor. I decided to make the foundation out of cherry wood and cobblestone.
No, you idiot! Blew everything up over here!
I decorated the floor of the tower with deep slate bricks. Honestly, they fit perfectly. After that, I connected it to the bunker, added a mahogany door, and kept building.
Yeah, we're definitely not gonna have enough wood.
I had to urgently craft a new diamond axe and go chop down that giant cherry tree near the base. Honestly, it looked terrible by now. Some of its branches had completely disappeared and most of the leaves were gone. Looks like all the storms and freezing weather had finally finished it off. I spent practically the entire remaining day cutting it down, but even then I still didn't manage to finish it. And on top of that, I started freezing very quickly. Meanwhile, the storm kept rumbling somewhere nearby. Still, I continued building the tower. First, I finished the roof over the first floor, and because of that, the heat from the heater finally started reaching this area too. After all, it only works in enclosed spaces. Then I slowly started building the second floor. I connected everything with cherry logs, added windows around the perimeter, and gradually worked my way all the way to the top. For the final floor, I decided to make a proper observation deck, something like a small lighthouse. For that, I needed a lot of glass. So while it was still daytime, I quickly ran to the beach, dug up almost a stack and a half of sand, and threw it into the furnaces. Meanwhile, I crafted new lamps. These would serve as the main lighting for the tower. I placed the windows and built a 3-block tall lamp structure in the center, with lamps on every side. As for the roof, I decided to use cobblestone stairs and slabs, reinforcing the middle with deep slate bricks. And honestly, it turned out pretty nice. Yeah, at this height the heater barely works anymore, but we won't be standing up here all the time anyway. The tower is mainly for observing the surroundings and keeping an eye on the weather. Eventually, I fully decorated the passage leading to the tower, added lighting, and finally finished construction. And the view from up here is absolutely incredible, especially during strong winds and thick fog.
The atmosphere up here is just amazing.
By the way, I've already fully planted the sugarcane farm. I'm still not entirely sure what we'll use all this sugarcane for, but paper is always useful, especially if we manage to trade with villagers later. As for the cows, they've already managed to wear down their own little path inside their enclosure, and honestly, it's actually pretty cute. I even added some water for them so they wouldn't get bored. In the end, I decided to move the heater to the other side of the farm. Near the sugarcane, it was becoming more of a nuisance than something useful. Now all that's left is waiting for the room to warm back up. Meanwhile, the weather outside just kept getting worse and worse.
Wind speed 53 miles per hour. That's kinda insane, isn't it?
The entire bunker slowly started filling with fog again. I climbed up the watchtower and tried to see what was happening outside, but because of the blizzard, I could barely see a couple of blocks in front of me. By nighttime, the radar started showing something really bad again.
Guys, I really don't like this. It looks way too much like a tornado.
By nightfall, it had become almost impossible to see anything because of the darkness. But every time lightning flashed, you could still tell that something was coming toward us. And whatever it was very bad.
Guys, I honestly can't tell if it's coming for us or not. The siren is starting going off too. Looks like a tree is heading our way. It's rumbling like a duck's stomach. Whoa, blocks! No! No! Get downstairs! Please, we just need to survive. The main thing is that the bunker halts. I think it's right above us.
But the most surprising part, the bunker actually held up. And even our tower, which we built out of deep slate and cherry wood, barely took any damage. Well, barely.
No, our forest is on fire! Please, no! Our beautiful forest!
I immediately grabbed some water and started trying to save at least the nearest trees. But the problem was the temperature. The moment I got too close to the flames, I almost instantly started overheating and taking massive damage. And the fire just kept spreading.
How am I even supposed to put us out? It's gonna burn the whole forest down!
Honestly, it felt like our entire world was falling apart right in front of our eyes. I spent the entire day trying to stop the fire, but fighting it alone with a single bucket of water was almost impossible. I'd managed to extinguish one area, only for the flames to immediately break out somewhere else. And in the end, a huge part of the forest burned to the ground. Even that giant tree in the distance. Everything near our base. After all that, I decided to take my mind off things and work on a very important idea. As you remember, we'd already built a heater before. Well, if you put snow inside instead of fuel, it turns into a proper cooler. And then I had a thought. What if we used it in the Nether? After all, the Nether counts as an enclosed space, which means, in theory, the system should work. I immediately crafted a new cooler, grabbed some snow and headed to the portal. I quickly built a small safe area around it and loaded the machine with snow.
Oh, we've got a cooling effect. Honestly, I didn't expect it to actually work.
But the temperature really did stay manageable for much longer. Near the portal and the cooler, we almost stopped dying from the heat. And for the first time, there was finally some hope for properly exploring the Nether. I reinforced the area around the portal a bit and decided to build a proper path down to the soul sand. Those soul sprouts are literally keeping us alive right now.
Oh, please, Piglin, leave me alone. 3 hearts. No, half a heart.
I barely managed to run back to the ladder and survived at the last possible moment. Honestly, one more hit, and that would have been it. I gathered more snow, crafted snow blocks, and slowly expanded our safe zone. Now we could survive near the new cooler too, and honestly, that felt like a small victory. If we keep advancing through the Nether like this, one safe zone at a time, sooner or later we'll be able to explore it properly. The problem though was something else. There was basically nothing around us except lava. No structures, no fortresses, absolutely nothing. Still, I started growing soul sprouts near the portal, because their cooling effect was literally saving our lives. But the farther I moved away from the coolers, the faster I started dying from the heat again. Eventually it became obvious. At this pace, exploring the Nether would take forever, and we don't have that much time. We've still got tons of plans ahead, so I decided to take a break from it for now. As you remember, we'd already maxed out our enchanting setup a long time ago. But we never have enough experience, and the only decent way I know to get XP quickly is mining nether quartz. Honestly, with all our limitations, it wasn't exactly easy, but I decided to risk it and mine as much quartz as I could find near the safe zones.
Alright, just a little more. That quartz on the ceiling should give me the level. There we go, level 30, perfect.
We still had diamonds and lapis, so I immediately crafted a new pickaxe and enchanted it. After that, I climbed up the watchtower. The weather finally looked peaceful. And honestly, after all the storms we'd been through lately, that alone made me happy. That's when I finally decided it's time to go find a village, especially since we already have 26 emeralds, which means we can finally start trading properly and maybe buy some good armor. And with that, we set off on a new adventure.
Yeah, just look at this forest.
After all the fires, some of the trees had survived, but everything near our base had almost completely burned down. Still, the cold didn't feel nearly as brutal as before, so traveling had become a little easier. I warmed up by lava whenever I needed to, fought off those bloodsuckers, and kept moving. After some time, enormous trees started appearing ahead. And honestly, I've never seen such a massive forest before. The deeper I went into the forest, the more unreal it felt. Eventually, I spotted some kind of structure ahead.
Look, I think that's a house over there. Yeah, I think we actually found the village right away. Oh my god, you've gotta be kidding me. Another meteor. Please, not the fields. If the fire reaches the village, it's gonna be over.
I immediately ran over and started putting out everything I could. Removed all the burning blocks, and only then finally allowed myself to breathe again. It was already starting to get dark, so the first thing I did was find a place to spend the night. One of the houses turned out to be perfect. There were 4 beds inside. I placed some lava nearby to keep warm and decided to wait out the night there.
Just look at the sunrise. It looks absolutely beautiful.
What interested me much more were the villagers I could trade with. That's why I decided to focus on Fletchers right away. You can sell sticks to them for emeralds at a great rate, and there was an absurd amount of wood around here.
Oh, look at that! Gravel!
I quickly mined a few pieces of gravel and returned to the village. Then I crafted my first fletching table and placed it right next to the houses. And from there, the real grind began.
Alright, first Fletcher is ready. 32 sticks for an emerald. That's exactly what we need.
To speed things up, I immediately made a second Fletcher, and after that I went out to chop wood. By the end of the day, I had almost a full inventory of logs, which was more than enough. Meanwhile, the weather started getting worse again. A light rain began falling, ice particles appeared in the air, and the temperature kept dropping. I decided to hide inside one of the houses, place lava next to the bed, and spend the night there. The next morning, I continued trading, and honestly, it was insanely profitable. But after some time, the Fletchers stopped accepting sticks, so I quickly grabbed more gravel, crafted a third fletching table, and continued trading with a new villager. By the end of it all, I had accumulated over 2 stacks of emeralds, and that opened up a ridiculous number of possibilities. The next thing I needed was an armorer, and for that I needed a blast furnace. As you remember, a meteor had crashed near the village, and it was about to become our main source of iron. The only problem was that my pickaxe had silk touch, which meant I couldn't get meteor fragments normally. And that's when the iron golem unexpectedly came to the rescue.
Alright, buddy, come here. Perfect.
After killing him, I got enough iron for a regular pickaxe, and I simply borrowed some smooth stone from the village. And honestly, that was incredibly convenient. Now I could properly mine meteorite blocks and turn them into raw iron. I threw everything into the furnaces, crafted a blast furnace, and finally got my first armorer.
Look, he's selling iron boots.
It was the cheapest thing available, so I had to spend a few emeralds. But the interesting part came after that. His next trade allowed him to buy iron for emeralds. And that was unbelievably profitable, because there was an entire meteor sitting right next to us, which meant iron had effectively become infinite. After that, I completely excavated the meteor, threw all the resources into the blast furnace, and continued farming emeralds through the Fletchers. After leveling up the armorer, his trades finally started getting good, and honestly, at that moment, the village became an actual gold mine. The first thing I bought was a basic shield. As you may remember, we'd never crafted one before. And then, diamond armor.
Oh, now we're talking.
I immediately bought the boots and leggings. Then, after leveling him up further, I got the helmet and chest plate. And just like that, we finally had a full set of diamond armor. And after all that trading, I still had a ridiculous amount of emeralds left. So next, I decided to stock up on arrows. The Fletchers sold them pretty cheaply, and one of the villagers was even offering a power 2 bow.
Hello guys, are you planning to fight or what? Come on buddy, show him who's boss.
In the end, I'd already gotten everything I wanted from this village, so all that was left was to explore the remaining houses. In one of the chests, I found apples, grapes, and even onions.
Fog is rally man, but honestly, who cares? We've still got a very long trip home.
After a long journey, our home finally appeared on the horizon, and honestly, after all those storms and freezing temperatures, coming back here felt amazing. The first thing I did was sort all the resources, put some water on to boil, and immediately got to work on our new armor. By this point, we'd reached level 39, which meant it was finally time to get properly enchanted. First, I insulated the diamond helmet. Our boots already had upgrades, so I simply combined them on the anvil. Next, I crafted a brand new diamond sword, and I finally made a grindstone too. Now we could remove bad enchantments without wasting resources.
Protection 3 and Unbreaking 3 too. That's awesome. Wow, now that is a serious weapon.
Then I enchanted the sword as well. I immediately combined it with our old sword and ended up with the perfect dildo. I also finally made a diamond shield, and honestly, it looks awesome. Plus, it blocks attacks much faster than a normal one. Since another storm was starting outside, I decided to work a bit on the atmosphere inside the base. As you remember, we'd gathered a lot of different mushrooms during our travels, so I placed them around the cave sections of the bunker. And honestly, the base feels even cozier now. The wind kept getting stronger. After some time, a thick fog rolled in. So thick, in fact, that from the tower you could barely see the ground anymore. And that's when I realized this was just the calm before another storm. By evening, snow had covered everything around the base again. The wind kept getting stronger and the temperature continued to drop. So I decided to spend the entire night up on the watchtower. Just in case, I even placed a thermometer there so I could keep track of how bad things were getting. Honestly, because of the fog, I couldn't see anything. Just a couple blocks ahead, and that was it.
Hold on, was that the glass just now? I think it was ice. Man, I completely forgot about our heater.
And like that, the storm continued almost until morning. I just stood on the tower, waiting for the worst. But closer to sunrise, the wind finally began to calm down. And while the weather had settled a bit, I decided to continue chopping down that huge cherry tree near the base. That's when I noticed something strange.
You guys seeing this? Looks like some kind of huge swirl. Maybe tornado? Honestly, I really don't like this.
I continued cutting down the remains of the tree. The wood had already started rotting, so there was no point leaving it standing. But the interesting part was something else. While I was outside, I suddenly realized we weren't freezing anymore in warm biomes, which could only mean one thing. Spring had finally arrived. And honestly, that was the best news I'd had in a very long time. I immediately returned to the farm, removed some of the corn and tomatoes, and replaced them with potatoes and onions. And during all this time, the sugarcane farm had completely grown in two. After that, I finally decided to return to the mines. It's been forever since we did any serious mining. I went down to Y level -54 and started digging long tunnels. And after some time, I found the first diamond vein.
Only 2 diamonds!
And a little later, I unexpectedly stumbled into a massive unexplored cave, right beneath our base.
And you're exactly what we need, sir. 2 pearls. Nice.
The deeper I went into the cave, the stranger things became. At one point, the temperature suddenly started rising, and it turned out there was a massive lava lake right above us. I quickly dug toward it and emerged into a gigantic red cave. Honestly, this place looked creepy as hell. Lava everywhere. And Enderman too, by the way. And this place was absolutely loaded with resources. After that, I spent a long time exploring caves, gathering ores, and occasionally finding more diamonds. And some of these caves were absolutely enormous.
That's so high up here. Just look at this place. Whoa. Did you guys see that? Looks like this whole thing was held together with hopes and dreams. Honestly, I've never seen cave collapse this massive before.
Eventually, I decided to head back home. We already had more than enough resources. Back at the base, I sorted all the ores, and only then realized how much we'd actually mined.
32 diamond ores. That's just beautiful.
To mine them in style, I placed all the ores right in the middle of the base, and our old nearly broken pickaxes were perfect for the job.
Alright, first pickaxe is gone, but we've got another one.
In the end, we got an insane amount of resources, and honestly, we can pretty much afford anything now. Even though nearly all the forest around the base has been destroyed, the important thing is that our bunker is still standing, and that's what matters most right now. While I was watching the weather from our tower, something very bad started forming in the distance.
Some kind of huge vortex inside the clouds. And honestly, this looks way worse than before. Guys, the siren. Just look at it. Blocks already flying into the air. I think it's heading straight for us. Please, hide. Get underground now.
I instantly sprinted back to the bunker. Outside, there was this unreal roaring sound, and the fog completely blocked all visibility.
Oh god, it's right above us. No, it tripped off part of the tower.
Honestly, I've never seen a tornado this huge before. Hundreds of blocks were flying through the sky. And after the tornado passed, new fires immediately started breaking out around the base. Looks like these things can actually set forests on fire. When the storm finally moved on, I went outside and started assessing the damage. The upper part of the tower had been completely destroyed. Half the roof was gone, and another forest fire had started nearby. But honestly, it could have been much worse. So I immediately got to work repairing everything. This time, instead of regular cobblestone, I switched to deep slate. I completely rebuilt the observation platform, restored the reinforced glass, and made the roof out of deep slate bricks. Hopefully the tower will be a little tougher now. And on top of that, the temperature was finally starting to rise.
43 degrees. Yeah.
While the remains of the forest continued to burn around the base, I began preparing for another journey. After all, we still hadn't made any real progress in the Nether. And for a long time now, killing the dragon had been one of my main goals. To open the end portal, we need ender pearls and blaze powder. And while pearls aren't too difficult to obtain, blaze powder is a whole different story. As you may remember, we'd found a few blaze powders inside some structures before. So now our main objective is to find more places like that. This time, I decided to head toward those huge floating islands. And almost immediately along the way, I came across a pillager camp built on the water. I dealt with them pretty quickly, and inside I found a horn and an anvil. The view from up here was absolutely incredible, by the way, but I didn't really have time to explore the islands right now, so I kept moving. After some time, another strange structure appeared ahead. Some kind of mushroom settlement right in the middle of the ocean, and it looked like villagers lived there. I reached it late at night. Inside, there were quite a few different crops, food, and resources, and in one of the chests I even found 2 diamonds and several decorative statues. Honestly, the place felt really atmospheric. But the rooms were too small, and I didn't find that much stuff here. Still, I grabbed the golden apples and continued my journey. By sunrise, I finally reached a new biome, and it looked absolutely stunning. It was kind of like a swamp, but way prettier. Huge trees, water everywhere, and strange vegetation.
Is this some kind of villager prison or something? Wait, why are they all locked up in here? Is this seriously a prison? Villagers, you guys got something mixed up here. Alright guys, you're free. Go wherever you want. Though honestly, I doubt you'll get very far.
At night, there were an absolutely ridiculous number of mobs here.
Whoa, baby dragons? No, I'm not hanging out with you guys. Oh, creeper! Perfect!
After a while, another huge structure appeared ahead, and this time it was a full-on tower. Turns out pillagers lived here, but considering our new diamond gear, I decided to risk it and head inside. The first floor was pretty easy, a few pillagers, some loot, and a bunch of chests.
Alright, one down. Number 2 down.
And honestly, the loot here was insane. An enchanted golden apple, a bunch of iron gear, and even leather.
Oh, and anvils are just lying around everywhere. We definitely need those. Diamonds. Whoa, whoa. How many of you are here? Back off. Take that. Another one. Are you guys infinite or something? Hold on, something broke. My pants. Whoa, there is an evoker. Put the pants on, grab the golden apples, and go. Yes, I got him. And we need to get out of here fast. The Vexes are about to spawn, and we might not survive. Where are you all coming from? Seriously? I'm gonna die here. I can't get out. Please, help me. And I'm freezing too, which is really bad. One heart left. Please. Oh god. No, 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 no. Enchanted apple. By the way, the apple helps with the temperature too. That's good. We just need to run. Don't fight. Don't fight. We just get out of here. Another apple. Run, run, run. Leave me alone already. Enchanted apple, please. Oh, oh.
At one point, I genuinely thought this survival was over, but somehow I managed to escape. Honestly, I didn't want to push my luck any further, so I simply continued my journey. After some time, I finally spotted a village in the distance, and considering I had started freezing again, it felt like a gift from heaven. There was a campfire nearby, and I decided to spend the night there.
How many of these stupid mobs are here? Leave me alone already. This is ridiculous.
But after a while, it started raining, and that actually made me nervous. I quickly grabbed some coals from the campfire, returned to the village, and occupied one of the houses. Then I crafted a new campfire and placed it right inside. Yeah, probably the dumbest idea imaginable, but I didn't really have a choice. I needed some way to stay warm. That's how I made it through the night. The rain was still going in the morning, but the temperature had improved a little, so I set off once again. Not long after, I stumbled upon another new structure. Turns out it was some kind of villager mansion.
Wow, Fortune 3. Now that's nice. We don't need Fortune 2 anymore.
There were some weird working furnaces inside, and the view from the tower was absolutely gorgeous. Honestly, this place looked amazing, but I still didn't stop. Day 95 was already coming to an end, and that meant less and less time remained before the dragon. And right at the end of the journey, I finally got lucky. I found the exact same structure where I discovered blaze powder before. And honestly, that was the moment I really started getting hopeful.
Ooh, blaze powder. 4 pieces right away. That's insane, we're taking it.
Besides that, there were golden apples, mushrooms, and even a brewing stand with water bottles inside. Honestly, this journey turned out to be way more successful than I ever expected.
Just look at how beautiful this place is. Honestly, we should have settled in a place like this from the very beginning.
But there wasn't much time to admire everything. Day 100 was getting closer, and the dragon was still alive. After some time, I stumbled upon another one of those houses. As it turns out, they're actually pretty rare. They're just really well hidden among the biomes. Inside, as usual, there was plenty of food and crops, potatoes, mushrooms.
Oh, more blaze powder!
In total, I now had 10 pieces, and considering the 2 we found earlier, that was already enough for the end portal. Honestly, that was the moment I finally realized we could actually finish this survival challenge. On the way, I came across a small fishing village by a lake, and honestly, the place looked really cozy.
I totally live in there. Everything looks perfect. They even have their own little lake.
But I still didn't stop, and after some time our cherry blossom biome finally appeared in the distance. And with it, our tower.
There is barely any grass left around our base. Everywhere you look, there are scars from tornadoes and wildfires. We are home.
After returning, I immediately sorted all the resources and started preparing for the final battle. I decided to bring mushrooms as food, because right now they were by far the best option. I immediately crafted 12 Eyes of Ender, and honestly, I was really hoping none of them would break on the way, because otherwise we might not have enough. After that, I started gathering everything that might come in handy in the end. Extra water bottles, ice, magma, wool to insulate the armor, just in case the end turned out to be freezing, soul sprouts, and even rabbit hides in case it ended up being too hot. Honestly, I had no idea what was waiting for us there, and I didn't want to take any risks.
Man, this miso soup is just the greatest food ever. And now, let's throw the first eye. Okay, it's heading that way. Whoa, something's happening.
A tornado started forming in the distance, and from the exact same direction as the last one. At first it was hard to tell whether it was coming for us or not, but after a few seconds it became obvious that it was approaching. This time the tornado passed slightly to the side, but it still looked absolutely terrifying. It was literally ripping entire forests apart.
Whoa, there is almost nothing left of the forest anymore.
But we didn't have time to stay home any longer, so I followed the Eye of Ender. And along the way I started noticing the aftermath of the tornado. After some time I finally reached the ocean. The eye still pointed forward, but as soon as I crossed to the other side, it suddenly turned around. And that was when I realized the portal was somewhere underwater. I swam around for a bit, roughly figured out the location, and started digging down. After some time I broke into a cave, and the stronghold was literally right there.
Alright, looks like we finally found it. Man, this stronghold is insane. I've never seen one like this before. Now we just need to figure out where the portal room is. It should be somewhere near the center. Wow, there it is.
There wasn't a single eye already inserted. And at that moment I realized just how lucky we were that none of our eyes had broken on the journey. Because of the lava, it was pretty hot in here, so the ice I brought beforehand ended up helping a lot.
Well then, day 100. Either we kill the dragon now, or never. 1, 2, 3.
And just like that, we were in the end. First, I quickly bridged over to the main island, and after that everything went the classic way.
Что не ранит, по-любому делает сильнее.
Oh yeah, we did it! Just look at all this experience. We can finally get some proper enchantments. Though the dragon egg fell into the portal, which isn't great, but honestly, that doesn't even matter anymore. The important thing is that we killed the dragon. At long last, it was over. And with that, day 100 finally came to an end. And honestly, this was one of the hardest survival challenges we've ever done. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, and of course don't forget to subscribe. You'll find all the mods, the mod pack, and the world download in the description. And as always, this was Skillux. Good luck everyone, and bye bye.